Welcome to the Rich Dawn, where eternal beatitude begins in this life. I'm Kyle Dean, and today I have a very special guest with me, Michele, who is a loving wife and mother of 3 beautiful and sweet children. Lauren, thank you so much for being on the show.
I'm happy to be here, Kyle Dean.
Hey, so I hear you have a really great husband. And
yes.
So this is my wife, and my action plan is to clutch your ankles on the way up to the pearly gates, as I love to say endearingly to family and friends.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Indeed. So what brings you on today's show, Lauren? What would you like to shed a spotlight on for our audience?
I'm happy to be here, Kyle, and thank you for having me. And this is an unusual space for me. This is my first time video podcasting, so thank you for having me and inviting me to this humble task. I think today is a great opportunity for us to share with your audience about a little bit about our life and what goes on behind the camera, and the excitement that is our vocation. There's a lot to be shared and gleaned from, and opportunities to learn and to grow, and it's fun for us to be able to talk about it one-on-one in this alone time that we have.
Right. We have a lot of it, and it's just so nice to have. Obviously with 3 very small children, close in age, with very distinct needs and wants in life. Mm-hmm. Having time like this is actually quite rare, and it's kind of fun. It's fun to share it in this way, you know? So, I would love to get into that. I'm gonna start by asking a question that, as your husband, I probably should know the answer to, but I actually don't. You said this is your first time video podcasting. Have you done some audio podcasting in your day?
This is a great question, and I believe it would be a first for me to audio podcast as well.
All right, well, we'll do both then with this.
I think we should.
Boom.
Yeah. We've just doubled our audience.
Let's go. So, awesome. And, so talking about family life, for some reason, I just want to bring it back. Of course, dating was amazing. And, for us, as Catholics, it's not really about dating so much as it's actually about courting. Mm-hmm. Traditionally speaking, that's kind of the Catholic way, the appropriate way to date. And you actually made that pretty clear to me on our first official date. Mm-hmm. This is back in like the mid-2010s when Facebook was still very important when it comes to your status in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so are we Facebook official? And you were like, I don't know, jump in anytime if you want to tell the story. You were like, I don't just date. I prepare for marriage.
Yeah, those words ring a bell.
You remember that? I remember that. That was a very interesting
cold
first date at the restaurant together, and I think I responded with, "Well, yeah."
Yes.
On the outside, and on the inside, a few different things were happening than that.
Yeah, I think you had like greasy fingers from some buffalo chicken wings.
Suicide wings at that.
Yes.
Definitely don't recommend that unless you're a professional spice eater.
Yeah, when you just brought up that story, I was thinking about a time in high school that I had. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. Maybe I have. I hope I have. But I was sitting in the cafeteria with, 5 or 6 other friends, all ladies at the time, all single. And we were talking about like the ideal man. And my answer was like on the spot, immediate, and I said, well, I just want my husband to be Catholic. And I think I was met with like jaw drops and like bizarre looks, like totally unexpected coming out from left field for these other girls who were just like, I just want a handsome guy. Wow. But that was my answer. And I'll never forget that moment. And here you are in front of me.
Hi. Yeah, by God's grace, I figured out my faith journey before we met. And I'm very thankful for that because you and I both know very well. We actually get kind of jovially chided by our close friends when we get into the amount of marital preparation we voluntarily took upon ourselves because of how seriously we took our vocation. But one of the things that we did was read the Fulton Sheen book, It Takes Three to Marry Together, which really teaches the importance of leaning on God, right? We're both finite human beings that have an infinite void inside of us that we long to have fulfilled. And, there's only so much we're going to be able to do for each other when it comes to that aspect of the spiritual component of our makeup and our being and yearning. And that's why it takes three to marry, because God is the infinite being that can ultimately fill that void. And I was on the track of figuring that out in the couple years leading up to meeting you, but I think you really had a very solid Catholic raised head on your shoulders leading up to that point to really just solidify and make sure we were on the same page with that message, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, it was a good upbringing. It was a good, faithful upbringing. Yeah, as you know, my parents are just devoted to the Eucharist. My dad being a Knight of Columbus, my mom in the Adoration Chapel all the time, and it was so good. And our faith community was so beautiful. Lots of people at every age in their walk of life that you could just tell were so joyful and so in love with our Lord, and that was really good to see, obviously. And God provided me with such good, rich soil, and really helped me to grow. And although there were thorns, as in any childhood, sure, I was able to see past that. What did you have then? Spears and clubs.
Yeah, a few cluster bombs. Yeah. You never know.
Mario Kart.
Never know what's around the corner.
Cartoon.
Oh, lots of video games. They were good for escapism, but
yes.
But now I'm known as a good gamer, so all is not lost. But we definitely had a lot of similarities, but we also had a lot of differences in our upbringing.
Yeah.
Opposites attract.
I was thinking that same thing.
Yeah, and so we went from courting to engaged, and that's where the Fulton Sheen book came in. It's actually a devotion that we have now when we walk with, witness to, and maybe even assist Catholics who, new couples that come together. We love to gift that book. Sometimes we have two copies on hand, sometimes we have one. If we have one, it's like, hey, you got to read it together. Yeah. Find time, while you're engaged.
Better.
If you can,
Yeah. It can be found.
Yeah, and it really is. It's just one of the most profound books out there on that. But we also did Engaged Encounter.
Yes, in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, up in a hill overlooking the city with the Palatine Fathers.
Yeah, I always come away from that weekend feeling like it took a lot out of me. It really reminded me of you're being waged war on in this vocation. This vocation is not for the faint of heart. And I came away with many tears, but many good learning opportunities and moments. And you and I both had such rich and tricky and difficult conversations during that whole weekend. It really produced a lot of fruit for us. Which was so critical.
It was an overnight stay. Everyone got their own isolated room. Everyone was handed a journal, and there were these like guided kind of like sessions, and maybe there was a meditation in there too.
Yeah,
but
I think
certainly a fair amount of like, think about this as it pertains to the marital vocation, and go journal about it. Go spend time with your spouse to be.
Yeah.
You know, they had a great like foliage, like garden area that you could go outside and spend time together. The only tears I remember from you, though, were tears of like uncontrollable laughter on the drive home.
Oh boy!
When we were goofing off. I think we went to the buffet.
Oh, we definitely did
On the way back.
Yes. One other thing to mention, though, which was a great asset to that retreat, was the couples who had been married for, 10 years, maybe 20. Yeah, we definitely went to 20 plus. I'll never forget, like, one of the wives sharing a story about how she had forgotten to do or overlooked this one task, and it was like pretty significant what she had forgotten to do, and it reminded me to stay focused. Just think. I mean, and obviously I've had moments like that too, but
they're both.
It was so nice to know that it was going to happen.
It does happen, and it's good to know that they were obviously both still together when they came to the podium to speak. So there's ways to grow in humility on both sides, and as we become one and smooth out each other's rough edges. That
is the best quote. I don't remember who shared that with us or how we heard that, but
that's just like one of those. It's ubiquitous in culture. It's been around for a while.
Yeah, there's been a lot of roughness on me, that unforeseen roughness that I wasn't expecting. That has been rubbed out.
We're working on it. You know? I think it's a lifelong process, and that's okay. I mean, we've been through a lot of chapters in our time together. Really, with each child that we've had, that has a lot to do with it. Fast forwarding 3, small children, very close in age. When they all have very distinct needs, unique from each other, right? One's learning to read, one's learning their letters, one's learning to walk, and they're all very mobile.
And very chatty.
Oh, yeah. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's the most incredible thing to experience.
It is fun.
And we've, so we were engaged, and there were a bunch of other things we did. Of course, we did the standard pre-Cana. That was, just not enough for us, though. So obviously, we really went above and beyond. And also, you kind of put me on the spot on that first date, but I also, before we got engaged, I told you, I said, I came into this relationship consecrated to Mary. I've had a very deep encounter with her, and I'm on daily rosaries for life. If you feel called to that, that's great. If not, we're probably not meant to get married. And you were like, give me some time to grow in relationship with her. I think, and that's the thing I've noticed with a lot of women, like, of faith that I've spoken with. You were by default, when I met you, very close to our Lord. Maybe not necessarily on that same level with Our Lady. And depending on the kind of upbringing that different people have, a lot of times our relationship with, like, God the Father or Jesus can really be deeply impacted by, our relationship with our earthly fathers growing up, and vice versa with women and men or women and their mother, with the Blessed Mother. And you came right on board, and we've both been consecrated for many years now, better part of a decade.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, mine is the feast day of Our Lady of Perpetual Help.
Yeah, you just came up on your anniversary.
Yes.
As of this recording, and
right.
My anniversary is Good Friday, 2015.
Ah, yes. Right.
It was before I got into a lot of these modern Marian devotional books, because mine was a very, very personal journey, and Good Friday made a lot of sense to me. To be at the foot of the cross with my mom when I made that commitment.
Yeah. Another avenue we took during our engagement was another favorite of mine, and it was reading the letters that occurred and were written between St. Gianna Bertamola and her husband Pietro.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. I remember that.
So beautiful. Just the two of them talking about their everyday life and also intertwining with where God has them, what they're working on and spiritually, and, how they long for each other because they spent a lot of time apart. He traveled a lot. And obviously she was busy with the children and also being a housewife and a doctor on top of that. So there was a lot of time apart for the two of them. So those letters were really, you could tell how much they longed for one another and how much they loved each other and what they wrote. So that was really special too. Yeah, I think we've got a couple copies of those that we've given out to friends.
Yeah. Yeah, I've avoided using the term young adults so far because for anybody that doesn't understand that
Right.
in the life of the church, it could sound weird, maybe even condescending, or, but it's just it's formally defined as anyone aged 18 to 39, so it's a wide age range. People on the upper end of that are usually like, am I really a young adult anymore? I don't know, but in any event, we have led a community movement for pretty much our whole relationship, almost a decade, that was given to us directly by the bishop, by multiple bishops that have blessed us to be the leaders of it, the lay leaders of it, and through that we've seen 6 weddings through to date. We've seen multiple friends go from having just met their future spouse to sacrificing their lives on the altar. Yeah. And it's been extraordinary to watch. But most importantly, as you said, as our friends, to just to be there for them. And there's also so many other people that we witness to that, that are currently single, discerning, marital vocation, or the religious life.
Right, still on the journey.
Yeah, and we've had friends that have made it through to the religious vocation as well.
Yeah,
and that's been incredible to watch too. And it's amazing. It's like, marriage is all about community, and your number one community is each other and your domestic church, right? Yes. Your children, and then of course, being involved in the wider community is how we become saints.
Yeah, the ultimate goal, sainthood, that crown, the crown of honor and glory in one of the Psalms that I read to the kids. Yeah. Yes, that will be a beautiful day one day.
So what are your favorite things to do with the kids when it comes to raising them as saints to be?
We enjoy so many things. Anything from little tasks around the house, baking, cleaning even, organizing is a favorite of one of ours.
It's been a bit of an ongoing battle for a couple of years for us.
Yes, it has.
To reach ultimate organization.
That's not the biggest goal. Obviously, we've just established the goal number 1, but some days that seems pretty high on my list. And then the kids love to sing. They love to just belt out. Actually, in particular, lately this week has been When the Saints Go Marching In. Wow. But it's funny when they request that song, sometimes I think they're talking about the States song. Saints and States get a little, not pronounced the right way. There's Alabama, Alaska, that song.
I'm glad I know this, obviously working a lot. I don't catch all these sweet moments, but it's so good that we communicate, and then, I can join in with them.
Oh yeah. Join in that number.
I think I'll do that tomorrow.
Good.
Yeah, I had a
You've got a good voice.
I had a proud father moment when our oldest son, our middle child, actually led a song in preschool. Like, does anybody know a song that we can all sing? And he jumped right in. Oh, take me out to the ball game.
I know, and he's so docile. So it was such a big moment.
Surprising. And
yeah.
And then I think the whole class did that. Did they do it at the concert?
They did. Yep.
They did the end of year concert.
Yeah.
They did that together.
Of which we missed. So it was in his honor. It was Mother's Day weekend, so we were traveling.
Ah, that's right.
Yes.
We were not even in the state.
No, we weren't.
Well, in any event, he planted the seed, right? We don't always get to see them watered. So
yeah. It's funny.
That's awesome. You know, I want to circle back to something you mentioned with St. Gianna and her husband Pietro.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
One thing that struck me then, because, you know, I was still fairly new in my conversion journey. I really came into the fullness of the faith in my mid-20s. I had no idea, you know, I had no foundational grounding before that. And so even when I met some of your friends, like your Catholic lady friends, and just witness to the way that you experienced joy together, and dare I say innocence, and just this peaceful tranquility. It was very foreign to the upbringing that I had, whether it was public school, babysitters, just so many different things, and there was such a saintliness to it. I'm thinking of, you know, the maid of honor at our wedding, who has since gone on to become a religious.
Yeah.
And,
right.
You know, she was one of your best friends and others. And it was literally, it just took my breath away when I saw it. And I think those little moments helped me to know that I was, you know, moving in the direction that God was calling of me. Because, you know, I was on the fence about my vocations when we met. And then with Gianna and Pietro, there was just always, I mean, you emphasized how they spent a lot of time away from each other, but there were also times when they were together. Like she committed, she wanted to, you know, come home as a full-time stay-at-home mom.
Right.
And they were just so sweet to each other all the time.
Yeah.
There's just this innocence that comes with living a life of virtue with someone, and maybe for someone that was raised in some brokenness and darkness like I was, it comes as such a shock. It can almost feel like a scandal. And I think if people don't embrace it, they might miss an opportunity or run away from it.
Right.
And it just got me excited to say, okay, that's the bar, right? St. Gianna set the bar in married life, and you know, I need to strive towards that community, right? That community with my most important you know, vocation.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm just thinking of a favorite quote of a mutual friend of ours, a dear friend of yours, more importantly, who one day was at our house and we were all chatting, and he just looked over at me and said, God provides. And for some reason those two words just really struck me. And that has been a theme of my life. And just thinking about and pondering those words in moments where I feel, you know, completely empty and unable to give, but God does provide us with the grace and with the strength to encounter our vocation. And it's important to lean on the grace of our vocation that we receive in that sacrament of matrimony. You know, you're literally denying yourself and encountering the other who you're supposed to serve your entire life, and that's death to self. And in that death, there is new life, as we know, which God provides for us. So it's beautiful to see the innocence that you were able to encounter and what that did for you and how it transformed you. And it really has made you such a fantastic husband. So keep doing great things.
I really appreciate that. And I strive to be better every day. And it goes without saying, you know, I opened, you know, with my battle plan, my action plan, clutching your ankles to get up. So you've been fantastic from day one. And Yeah, it's, God does provide, and we just have to offer it up. Maybe we can close with just a reflection on what you just said about grace. I think one of the things that always stuck with us, there was, there was the one thing that happened at Pre-Cana where they said there's 3 things you're going to say to your spouse every single day. I'm sorry. Thank you.
And I love you.
And I love you. Right? Maybe more of the first 1 or 2 than you get to the third, but you need all 3 really. And it's like that daily confession within the homestead, right? That I'm sorry. But then also, someone came into our life and just emphasized really profoundly the fact that every amount of grace that you're ever going to need throughout the entire rest of your life in your marital vocation is there on the altar when we sacrifice our very bodies for each other at that marital mass, at the holy matrimony. And that's an important concept, because in this day and age, people might not realize that grace component is key to a marriage that's going to last and be life-giving and fruit-bearing, and not only for yourselves but for the children. And when we do have those moments of I have nothing left to give, like you kind of mentioned, like those moments of weakness, I find myself reflecting often about it's going to be all right.
Yeah, it sure will.
Yeah.
It sure will. Yeah, God is so good, and it takes courage to be able to say yes to someone, and what a gift it is to be courageous in this life.
And to let your yes be yes and your no be no, and to be consistent, right?
Boundaries.
Yeah.
Stick with your gut with what you say, and make it solid and make it a perfect prayer unto our Lord, and He'll use whatever he needs from you to get His way.
That's right.
His will be done.
That's right. Amen. Well, honey, it's been great talking to you. Thanks for a great date night.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
we can do this again sometime.
Yeah. We'd love to have you on.
I know your number.
I think we can definitely fit you in the schedule. So.
All right.
So thank you for tuning in to The Rich Dawn. And if you'd like more content like this, please let us know in the comments. We'd really appreciate if you would subscribe. It helps the algorithm, and it helps us to continue to serve our community, which is what this movement is all about. So thank you again for tuning in, and God bless you.